Last spring, Roy Lupton shot a roebuck. It ran to be found 40 yards away in long grass.
Good girl.
It was a reasonably long shot. Roy felt it might have been a little low, but following discussions after the event, we hypothesised, it's important to hypothesise, that maybe the shot had struck an ear of corn, throwing the 243 ballistic tip bullet off course and fragmenting it before it got to the vital organs. Right, let's get technical, as this barrel cam footage shows from our trip to Africa earlier this year. Focusing your scope on an animal 100 plus yards away might mean you don't see the twigs, grass or leaves sitting in front of your nose and in the path of the bullet. You can clearly see the twig drop. Unfortunately, the oryx in the crosshairs does not. It's enough to stop the soft-nosed bullet doing its job. To try and get a better understanding of what might have happened, we're setting up a high-tech experiment. We've chosen 3 natural barriers that could stand between us and our animal. Roy has picked hay, nettles and green hazel twigs.
Things sometimes come in the line of fire, so your bullet can end up striking something that you hadn't wanted it to before it hits the target. That could be straw, that could be stubble, it could be nettles, it could be a branch. And it's always fascinated me as to what sort of results you get, so what exactly happens to that bullet. So we've set up a very simple experiment today just to see if we can extrapolate any results. And so we're going to start off with the 22-250, we're then going to move on to the 243 and then up to a 30-06, all shooting ballistic tips, and then we'll see what sort of results we get from it.
We put up a barrier of hay and 5 yards behind it place a target and a milk bottle full of water. Roy is shooting his 22-250 from about 70 yards away. And this is what happens.
Well, I don't know quite what we can extrapolate from that experiment. We had catastrophic failure of the milk bottle there. But bearing in mind we were only shooting from 5 metres through a bit of grass into the target, in that area, okay, it would have still killed a fox if you were shooting at a fox. So we were just slightly high, but you can see rather than a nice neat hole, it started to rip, so I would guess that the bullet had started to tumble or some effect had been made to the bullet, but it was still imparting most of its energy when it got to the target. There's no point in trying the 243 or the 30-06 at this range or through that, because we're going to get pretty much similar results.
That's enough hay fever. Nettles are next. Maybe it's global warming and a longer growing season, but we shooters seem to be spending more and more of the year being stung by nettles. We move them a little further back to give the bullet more time to be influenced by the obstruction.
The bullet would have had to go through a few stalks, and I would have thought that that would have just been enough to destabilise it and at least start it twisting, maybe divert it a little bit and start it fragmenting, but absolutely nothing. So I think all we can do now is we'll move on to the sticks, and then just as a follow-up to it, what we'll do is we'll move the obstacle right in front of the rifle, so we'll move it 10 yards in front of the rifle and then shoot, so then the bullet's got 50, 60, 100 yards to decide to do something before it gets to the target, if we are going to get any results at all. But bearing in mind we're using ballistic tips and a very, very fast round, I'm absolutely shocked that we didn't get a result from that one, so we shall see what we find out.
Now this, you'll be glad to hear, is where it starts to get interesting. The green hazel twigs. I bet you didn't realise that Roy gave up a lucrative career in floristry before finding field sports. We placed the beautifully arranged greenery first at 10 yards in front of the target and then 10 yards in front of Roy.
You can see there that the bullet is off course, so it should have been absolutely smack in the middle. It's tumbled off to the right hand side and is low. So at that range, if you're shooting at a fox or something like that, or at a deer, then it's going to be starting to take you away from being a kill shot and take you into the realms of wounding an animal. So, it really does just go to show that a relatively small obstacle in the way is going to affect your bullet. I mean, we can step it up and try a larger round and just see what that does, but obviously we didn't get a result from the nettles, we didn't get a result from the hay. But we're talking about massive variables here, so even though we didn't get the results on those, I still wouldn't recommend shooting through anything But it really is just to try and show what does happen and some of the pitfalls that you do face if your shot hasn't got a clear path to the target. Obviously the round is no longer stable, it's just tumbling all over the place, and then we've got lots of little fragments here of the round where it's breaking up that have disturbed the paper across here. Yeah, it really does go to show how careful you've got to be not to shoot through.
For our final test, Roy chooses to go for more power and punch. He has decided to see how a soft-nosed 243 performs against the same green hazel twigs 10 yards in front of the intended target. He is of course expecting the bullet to fly true, shrugging off the twigs and finding its mark.
Okay, so we've hit another twig there, so we should have quite a good result, I hope, at the target. Bear in mind that that was the soft nose round, so we'll see what sort of results we get at the target. Well, I'm really shocked, bearing in mind that we were using 100 grain soft nose round out of a 243. I was expecting it to hold together and probably not deviate as far away from the centre of the target. But what we've actually got here on the bottle and on the paper is we've got the bullet, looks like it's fragmented into two major pieces, and then we've got lots of little fragmentation of the round as well. So bearing in mind as well that is only 10 yards in front of the target, we've got a massive effect on the bullet before it gets to the target. So again, if you were shooting at an animal and you hit a bit of rape stubble or something comparable to the twigs that we were using there, then at worst you would wound the animal and at best you would miss it. I think all I can take from today is it really doesn't matter what I have chambered in my rifle. It doesn't pay to try and shoot through any foliage or any obstacle. Ethically, I think it's very questionable. I thought you might be able to get away with it a little bit more with a soft nose round as opposed to a ballistic tip. But I mean, we have to take into consideration that this is only a very small sample of rounds, a very small sample of shots. So my caveat in that is that other people may get different results, but from what I've seen, I won't be attempting to take any shots in the future unless I have a clear view of my target.
Judging by this back of fag packet experiment and footage from the field, it's best to keep fresh air, and only fresh air, between you and your intended target.